What's up guys? It's Jameson Wolf from Jameson Wolf Fitness Systems. Today I wanted to introduce to you guys the hip thruster to improve your hip thrust and your hip extension strength. I ended up welding and fabricating a hip thruster mechanism kind of setup machine here that was popularized by Bret Contreras. And since I have a background in welding and fabricating, I was able to gather up some parts and were able to make a machine. Now, you can buy this machine. I'm going to provide a link in the description to Bret Contreras' hip thruster so that you can go ahead and get it from them. But since I had the tools, I ended up making one. Now, the hip thruster is an awesome exercise. Basically, it can help with hip extension, hip strength, and improve that. It can help supplement towards your squat. However, the squat is still going to be the king when it comes to strengthening the legs and quads and things like that. However, the hip thruster, with some studies showing, Bret Contreras did do a pre-published study on the hip thruster with EMG activation, and it did show a greater activation in the glutes when it came to doing this movement. So, if you are looking for hypertrophy in the upper and the lower gluteus maximus, this is an exercise you definitely want to incorporate or think about incorporating into your program, along with squats as well. So the benefits of doing the hip thrust off this machine here is the height of the bench itself is going to be at an appropriate height for the average person, so it's easier to get into position as opposed to, say, using a bench at the gym and setting it up so that something's behind it so it doesn't slide and whatnot. But that will work just as fine as well. So with this, we have a couple other advantages. We have some pins that we can use to actually help create a resistance, so depending on force velocity resistance. So we can place this pin in the different holes on each side and then grab a resistance band and place it on one side, wrap it over your hips, and then onto the other. So as you extend the hips upwards, the force is going to increase. You're going to have to use more force to extend the hips up. Now, there's that advantage. Now to use this, I'm going to kind of demonstrate it a little bit. And we're going to use a normal Olympic barbell with a bigger plate to get it over the hips. And we're going to use the barbell pad so that it doesn't irritate or bother the bones of the hip. So I'm going to get in position and kind of show you this. You want to make sure the bar is nice and centered. That way, when you do get up with the bar on it, it's not going to be tilting side to side and be extremely awkward. So once it's centered, bring it to the center, which is nice. I fit in here quite well. Most people will fit in here quite well. And then I only really have to move a few inches up from where the bench is. So once I get my heels about hip width or slightly wider than hip width apart, maybe shoulder width, I can take a big breath, go up just a little bit, and I'm already there on my lower shoulder blade. Now with a neutral spine, not arching my back, I can now extend the hips up and abduct my knees outwards. And then to lower down, I just gently bring her down and roll her away. So the biggest advantage in the hip thrust is that my gluteal muscles are under tension for a long period of time. I'm not only working on hip extension, but I can also focus on hip abduction, which is great because that's really what I want to do when I'm trying to hit the different groups of gluteal muscles in this movement. And generally, I can do quite a bit of weight here. So I can really put a lot of tension and stimuli on the glutes for strength, explosive power, horizontal pushing force, etc. So go ahead and check this out. If you want to buy the hip thruster and you have room for it, I will provide the link at the bottom. If you want to look into more about hip thrusts and how that can supplement towards your squats and whatnot, definitely go check out Bret Contreras' stuff. He really is a nerd in the stuff, and he's well known. So I like a lot of his information, and he's more of a science guy, so it is good to get some information from him. Alright guys, until then, have a good one.